Hello and welcome back to another video, and today I'm finally gonna be doing a behind the scenes room tour video for 1K subs. So speaking of which, thank you all so much again for 1K subs. It is truly my biggest milestone yet, and it does mean a lot to me and my whole entire career. So to celebrate, to cap off the 1K sub saga, I am finally gonna be doing something that I've been holding off for long enough now, which is a room tour video, or I guess, going by the title, behind the scenes room tour. So, yeah. So I've been wanting to do these types of videos for a very long time, but just never ended up doing them for some reason. But now I am finally doing one. So without further ado, let's just show everything off. So starting with this, I guess this pole, which has most of my hats. If you guys know me, I love wearing I love hats, so yeah, especially this one. This is probably my all-time favorite one that I've got so far because, well, it's red, my favorite color. And here we just have a bunch of stuff. There is the Techno Gears Marble Mania track, which I barely even use since it's super hard to put together. So hence why you never really see this track in my videos. So yeah. But over here we have is the Marbulous set, which I do use for quick races, in which I do alternate between this and that set for like some quick races for for example, this set I use for like 3 to 4 races, and then the next few races after that I use this set, in which yes, there is the Imaginarium set. And yeah, so on. So that's something I'm going to be doing with quick races going forward, just to shake things up a little bit. So yeah. And here we just have a bunch of extra marbles. Those are my retainers and everything. And in this box, here, let me get all this stuff out of the way. This box right here is where I store the rest of my unused Marbulous pieces, like, for example, these and this, yeah, all that type of stuff. Actually, I might modify this part of the Marbulous section and replace it with like one of these, but I'll do that later. So yeah, so that's where I store all of my Marbulous pieces. I did used to store these in the Galt Marble Racer box, which is in the closet, and which I'll obviously get to that later. But since, well, it was kind of cramped, I just decided to move it all in this box, just so I don't have any problems trying to open and close things. So, yeah. And also, yes, I do have the step stool here, which I do use if I build, like, very tall tracks. But, yeah. And here is where I usually record the intros and outros for marble races. In here is where I store most of my unused marbles. This is where Murky Blue is sitting, as he is currently world champion, possibly until the end of chapter 3. So here he is sitting on his little, I guess, throne, even though this is more like a trophy. Oops. This is my little podium, which I made out of Lego, that I used for, for the end of races, and also tournaments too, and such. So basically I just use that thing for marble races in general. And here I have this little cup, which I use if I am using more than if I'm using like 15 marbles, or I guess 14 marbles, whatever, about 15 plus marbles up, just so I don't have to you know what I mean. And in here is where the entire roster, well, except for Murky Blue, obviously, because he's world champion, this is where the entire roster is sitting. So obviously they're just in this little box right here, as well as some big marbles that I have, like, for example, I don't know if I can find it, but oh yeah, here it is. I found it. If I can get it out, like this marble. And these type of marbles I usually use to, for these type of marbles, especially for wildcard races, I usually use them to like block marbles from, block marbles from, well, yeah, you know what I mean. You've seen it in some of my past races. Just so, I can make things easier when it comes to editing. So, yeah. So there's that. Here we just have some more unused marbles in this little container right here. And here we have this little red base with this green starter top that I use for the final results images and such. And yes, I do have a green starting. Okay, sorry for a couple line flows, but yes, I do have this green starter gate instead of a red one, just so it doesn't end up blending in with the colors and everything. And these are some alternate marbles, well, if that's how you're gonna call them, that I usually use, well, I guess a teeny bit smaller versions of certain marbles in the roster, like whenever I'm using like the Imaginarium set, for example, like this marble, which it is actually the old plastic body for Rainforest, but since I found out that he doesn't really fit well in some parts of the Imaginarium set, I just use this marble for the Imaginarium set only, yeah. Here we just have some of my personal items, like, my glasses and everything. And this piggy bank right here, which I actually had since I was a baby. So, yeah. And here you have this little studio lightning, which for some reason has a paper phone on there. I don't know why, but yeah. I actually got this for Christmas for Christmas in 2023. And even though I barely even use it, but I might have some plans on using this thing, but I don't know. But for now, I just never really use it, to be honest. So, yeah. And here we have this Galt Marble Racer starting gate with red top that you pretty much know what I obviously use this for. So, yeah, there's basically nothing else for me to go over. Here we have my old red backpack that I used to use for school, well, during freshman year specifically. Nowadays, I just use that green bag because this one is starting to become a little bit torn up, so yeah. And under my chair, we have that gravity racetrack, in which, yes, I did put it away like a couple months ago because it was just collecting dust and I never really use it, so yeah, that's why it's just in that box. And since it doesn't really work well with standard sized marbles, unfortunately, I don't really have any plans on using this thing, at least anytime soon, so yeah. And over here we have my desks. Well, yeah, my desk. And first I'm going to go over the thing that's, the most obvious thing that is showing, which is this Dell screen right here, which kind of looks like a TV or a computer, but yeah, but I just never really use it. But this is actually to hook one of my devices up to the screen, like for example like a computer or something like that. And here we just have a bunch of chargers and watches. There's my Apple Watch, and yeah, just a bunch of notebooks and stuffs that that is obviously being shown. This is where the computer that I use to schedule videos and everything. I don't really use it much, other than to do things in YouTube Studio. But yeah, and yes, this is my AirPod case, which yes, it is a suitcase. So it looks pretty nice. And no, it doesn't really roll, unfortunately, but it's still pretty cool to have. So yeah. And now up here you have some of my Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. Yes, Diary of a Wimpy Kid is my favorite book series because I just find it very interesting. Here we have two of my yearbooks during my pre-high school year, well, 8th grade, but I'm just gonna call it pre-high school year because that was the year before I started high school, and freshman year, well for my case at least, but yeah. And here we just have a bunch of headphones. Here we have two wired ones, which I do use them for voiceovers for races. And this one I usually use for gaming videos such as Minecraft. And yes, I actually did use this in my most recent Minecraft video with Cyclerfire in that build battle we did. Speaking of which, make sure to go check that out, especially, you know, towards the end, because, you know, I'll just let you guys see that for yourself. But yeah. And now over here you have some stuff that I actually made during my electronics and design class, like for example this circuit board, or actually a resistance learning board as it says here, and this, okay, we have another circuit board, and yeah, and over here, and yes, this license plate is expired, so don't worry. Here we have a bunch of toy cars, which I don't know why they're sitting up there, but yeah. And actually behind this screen, we have my iPad here. And yeah. And over here is just my bed. So nothing special. And now as we move over here, here's the main track, in which, yes, it is one of Aiden202X's tracks. So credit to him for this track layout, obviously. In which specifically it is his Chapter 3 Season, well, his first Chapter 3 Season 6 track. So here it is right here. Pretty nice track that he made, so obviously shout out to him for this track. So yeah. And yes, there is my current backpack that I use for school, which I already did, you know, show off earlier, so no need for me to go over that. And obviously, like I said, this is where the Imaginarium set sits. Originally, it was sitting there, and as well as the main track, it was originally sitting over here. But since the desk is now over here, the main track is now being moved to here. In which I actually prefer this space a lot more because, you know, this gives me much more room to do marble races in, so yeah. Same with this, obviously, but, you know. Anyways, that's about it for, you know, all this, for the marble tracks and everything. Now, we're going to get into the closet. So over here, I guess this is a travel bag that I'm going to use in the future. But let me get that out of the way. So now, these are some Marble Run boxes from sets that I've purchased in the past, such as this Galt Marble Racer one, which I did use to store the Hubolino pieces in, but since it was a little bit cramped, I just decided to, you know, use that box instead of this, because, you know, this one was just a little bit cramped, so yeah. And here we have this National Geographic Marble Run box right here, as well as a Mindware one. And yes, I do have plans for these for storage, so I'm not just, you know, just keeping these for no reason, because I actually do have use for these in the future, so yeah. If I do, like, want to store more, like, unused pieces. But speaking of pieces, and yeah, this is just all my clothes, but speaking of Marble Run pieces, these 3 boxes right here are where I store, you know, my main marble parts. And that box over there is where I store my Techno Gears Marble Mania parts, but I'm just not going to show it all off because the box is just kind of stuck in there, so I can't really pull it out, but this is where I store most of my unused parts, so I'm going to go over them right now. So let me just pull it off. And I'm going to be pulling out the Imaginarium set parts. So here they all are. Whew. Okay. So first, I'm going to go over the Marbulous parts. Well, the main set parts. So in here, we have some of my flat funnels, in which I do have 9 of these, but this is just one of them, since this track only has 6 of them. But as you see here, they are very different compared to the plain funnels. So as you see here, the plain funnels have more of a concave look. So as you see here, and they do sink in a little bit deeper compared to these, even though they do also look a little bit concave themselves. The surface is a lot more flatter, and okay, I don't know why my focus is crapping out, but whatever. But yeah, compared to these, this has a way flatter surface than, you know, the plain funnels, obviously. And here we have these horizontal wheels, in which I actually have like 7 of them, I think, if I count correctly. Here we just have some, you know, unused tubes, and here we have the orange loop, which is the newest piece that I got. And yes, if you do notice, okay, let me try and focus on it. I don't know if, yeah, if you do notice, I did put tape on both sides because this top part just flies off very easily. This top part just like randomly flies off for no reason. So because of that, I decided to put tape on here just to, you know, prevent that from happening, because, you know, this top part just randomly flies off for like no reason whatsoever. Like, it's just ridiculous. So yeah. And here we just have a couple staircase pieces, you know, like this red one. Here we have an orange one. More horizontal wheels. Here we have a split track, in which this did come from the Galt Mega Marble Run. So there it is right there. Here we have a blue snake with a bell, in which, yes, the bell is very dull due to, you know, overuse. But, you know, it still works pretty well, obviously. But, you know, I just prefer the bell to be a lot more shiny, so yeah. Which is why I'm actually using that new bell up there. Okay, I don't know why my focus is... Bro, my camera does not want to cooperate with me today, but whatever. And here we have a... Okay, my focus again, man. But yeah, here we have a 180, in which, yes, just like with the orange loop, it does also have tape on it, because the marbles would just randomly just fly off the edge of this. So basically, I decided to, you know, put tape on here just to prevent that from happening. And it's even, the marbles flying off problem is even worse with this design, because for some reason, even though the wall is like slightly higher, it does make the marbles fly out of it even more. So because of that, I am forced to put tape on here. So yeah. So this is kind of a crappy design for the 180 piece, but if you put like tape on like the edges, then I guess it isn't really much of a problem, but still. Kind of wish they came up with a better design just to fix that problem, but whatever. And here we just have a bunch of C pieces. Here we have the funnel toppers, which you would usually use to plop on top of the funnel. So it is right here. However, though, you do need to keep in mind that the rings that do go around the funnels break very easily, so you do kind of need to be careful with them. Like, as you see here, this ring that's you know, that was originally around this funnel sadly broke off, but you know, this thing is still usable if you have at least 2 more remaining. But if you have 1 or all of them break off, then you can't, well, you know, put these on top of that funnel anymore. So I guess that's kind of why they came up with a newer design for the funnels, like, you know, this one. Like, so like, you see how like the rings are like a lot more like bulky looking. I think that's the reason why they, you know, they changed the design for the rings, just to prevent that from happening. So yeah. Here we have the leap of faith, or the jump, but I usually call this a leap of faith, but I guess the jump piece. And if I can find and this is where the marble would usually land in with this piece. So there's right here. However, I don't really use this much in my videos, just because, well, I guess, like, if marbles would just randomly, like, just, like, miss the catch and just fly off, but I think just as long as like you attach like a staircase piece to both of these, then you know that shouldn't really be too much of a problem. But yeah. And here we have these like small bases, which are only meant to hold up the track. These bases, however, you can store unused marbles in. And here we have a podium finish from the Gaunt Marble Racer set, in which I actually do have 3 of these. And one of them is literally on the track right now. And we have a few more bases and oh, yeah. Well, actually, here we have some of these vertical wheels right here. So, yeah, those are pretty nice. Those are pretty interesting. Here we have some S pieces right here, in which I do have a couple of these, but this is a bright red one right here. And, yeah, actually, the colors are actually kind of different when it comes to, like, the pieces. Like, for example, the Galt versions, the colors, so the Galt, as you see here, if I like attach these 2 pieces together, the colors are a little bit different. So you see how the S piece is slightly brighter, while the funnel is slightly darker. So yeah, 2 different shades of red, which is kind of interesting. And I think that's all of, like, the interesting pieces that I have to show off. Now we get to this box. We have more horizontal wheels. And we have some of these sky rail pieces, which I never use for my races because some smaller marbles will end up sinking through, like, the rails and then just flying off. Well, yeah, just falling off. So that's kind of why I never really use these. But I do plan to have these used in some occasions, but I don't really use these much, so yeah. Here we have more funnels, and here we have a Gaunt Marble Racer starting gate, in which I have 3 of these, obviously, just like with the finishing podium. And that red top right there is what goes on the starter gate, obviously. Here we just have some more unused tubes. This is used for the elevator. Well, for the top part specifically, but I don't really use the elevator just because, you know, it's kind of hard to put together. But, yeah. This is, I guess, the motor for the elevator. I'm not going to grab the chain out, though, because just to, I guess, save time, but whatever. But, yeah, those are, well, most, if not all of my marble pieces that I have. So now, I'm going to move over to the Imaginarium parts. So, get this out of the way. Yeah, I know this isn't really like a well-made video, but, you know, I'm just kind of doing this just because, you know. So here we get to the Imaginarium parts. So here we have, like, a starter gate with a red C piece right here. Here we have a shorter C piece, which, yes, this is an older version of the Imaginarium set. Well, this came from an older Imaginarium set from, like, 10 years ago. So if you can't tell the difference between these two, as you see, this one is a lot longer, and the entrance holes are not as narrow, so some more bigger marbles can cross through, unlike this one. So that's why I usually use these more instead of these, because, you know, because most parts from old Imaginarium do not work well with standard sized marbles. So that's why nowadays you usually see me just using some of the newer parts, aside from the starter gates, but, you know. Here we have this very interesting piece, which is actually 2 pieces, but you can connect them and make them all one piece. So that's very interesting. Here is what I like to call the steroids split path, because this thing is ridiculously big compared to the normal split tracks right here. Here we have an older version of this blue squiggly piece That's the newer version, but this older version right here, it also doesn't really work well with standard sized marbles. Like, for example, like especially this part right here. Here we have another starting gate. Here we have some bases right here. Here we have a blue squiggly piece, a backwards S piece, or I guess a 2, if you can, you know. But it's kind of like a backwards S, as I like to call it. So yeah. And here we have these very interesting pieces right here. These really cool, I guess, like multiple vertical wheels pieces. I don't know what to call this, but you put like, okay, whoops. You usually put like the marble in here, and it can just like fling through these little pieces right here. So that's really cool. Here we have an older version of the backwards S pieces, and actually this is actually kind of bent out of shape, but yeah, I never really use this, so it's not much of a problem. But yeah. So that's pretty much all the other Imaginarium parts I have. Most of them are already in this track, such as, well, the flips, actually, in which yes, there is actually an older version of it, if I can pull it out, but yeah. Ah, yeah, here it is. So this is the old version of the loop. As you see here, it is a little bit different. The old version is a little bit more like bulky looking compared to the newer version. That's very interesting. And also another difference between the Imaginarium loops and the Marbulous loops is that these top parts are very sturdy. Like, they don't fly off easily, unlike this piece of crap right here, to the point where I had to put tape on it just to prevent that from happening. But, you know, that's besides the point. Anyways, I think that's pretty much all of my Imaginarium parts, because, you know, most of them are already in this track right here, like, you know, the funnels, the vertical wheels, and actually, yeah, and these things as well. And like I said, I am not showing off the Marble Mania parts just because the box is just kind of stuck in there, so I can't really take it out. But yeah, but overall, that's pretty much about it for this room tour. There's not really much in this room, since, you know, it's kind of like, you know, kind of like a small room, but with like very large space. But yeah. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this pretty interesting room tour. And if you did, make sure to, you know, and also thank you all for 1K subs. Cheers to another 1K. Or at least hope we can get to at least 1.5K very soon. But yeah. But anyways, that's going to be about it for this room tour. So let me know in the comments if you guys want me to do more of these in the future. But yeah. So anyways, that's going to be about it for this. So hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give me a big thumbs up to share your support. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Subscribe with that notification bell enabled. And feel free to follow all of my socials down below. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye for now, and have a good day.